fun games I used to play with my dad.
So my father is a huge reason why I'm such an avid gamer. Most of my most cherished memories are just from me watching him play a game, or in the case of this list, games that we've played together. So for Father's Day, I found it appropriate to take a trip down memory lane and talk about 10 games that I used to play with my father. A couple quick notes before we get started. First, this list is not based on the quality of the titles themselves, but rather the memories associated with them. I usually try to step outside of nostalgia bias with my videos, but this particular list will have that element at the forefront. Now this list will only contain games that my father and I played together simultaneously, either in a versus or co-op setting. It will not include games where we passed the controller or watched one another play. Finally, I'm sure I'll forget a lot of popular co-op games, but at the end of the day, if I don't have memories with them specifically, including my father, they got cut.
Fair enough.
Number 10. Hey, I never said these games had to be good. Growing up with the Super Nintendo, my father and I barely dipped our toe in co-op. For the most part, we passed the controller between one another with games like Mario, Donkey Kong, and Castlevania. We did try our hand at 2 co-op experiences at the time, one of them being Captain America and the Avengers. This was the first time I was exposed to characters like Iron Man, Vision, and Hawkeye. Yeah, it's a wonder the full outfit never appeared in the MCU films. This game was tough. We never beat the 3rd stage. I remember we would try again and again, but I don't have memories of us beating the Mandarin. Turns out, the Genesis version was a much smoother experience. Ah well, it makes sense. Most arcade games rocked on Sega Genesis. I definitely have the voice clips lodged into my brain for this one, but other than that, I don't think too fondly of this title. Number 9. Another Super Nintendo game we played when I was little was Super Smash TV. Unlike Captain America, this one was pretty good. The best way to describe this game is to picture the movie The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger and turn it into a video game. There you go. That's right, it's a battle royale game show filled with powerful weapons, fearsome robots, and intense action. This was another game we never got to beat. I think it was the fact that you had to play the entire game in one sitting, a feature I do not miss in the slightest. We made it up to the final boss, but we got smoked every time. The main theme of this game is one of my personal favorites, and when it pops onto my playlist, very few are familiar with it. I think that just makes it all the more special. Smash TV was the last co-op game I played with my father as a kid. The rest of the games on this list we played when I was much older, wiser, and more primed in video game skills. Number 8. My pops was never huge on RPGs. He's played a handful of them, sure, but the turn-based ones were never his sweet spot. As for me, I didn't really get into them until I was in high school, and didn't really love them until I was well into college. Still, there was a Final Fantasy game I wanted to experience on Nintendo GameCube. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. I vividly remember it being a birthday gift which included 3 of my friends at the time. We each brought our Game Boy Advance and did 2 levels as a team. It was perfection. Unfortunately, it never really became a full experience. So my father and I started our own playthrough. It was decent. Not my most vivid memory of going on a co-op quest with my dad, but he certainly tried his best using my sister's GBA. I do remember around the start when I explained to him that most of the data would be on the screen of the GBA. So he looks down and goes, "Wow, that's tiny." Once again, I believe it was one of the last bosses that took us out. To this day, I still haven't beaten this game, and due to couch co-op being completely removed from the Switch version, I doubt I ever will. Number 7. As you've probably gathered by now, my father and I mainly played on Nintendo consoles. That's kinda how it was growing up. You had one console brand and kinda stuck with it. As I got older, we were able to get our hands on consoles of the Sony and even Microsoft brand. Now there was a particular co-op game that we absolutely adored, and it will appear later on this list. Let's just say it was a sublime experience we tried to replicate in other games after it. Many we tried, but most of them failed. On a whim, we decided to check out a dungeon crawler called Champions Return to Arms, the sequel to Champions of Norath. Keep in mind, my father and I were not familiar with the world of EverQuest prior to this game, but that didn't stop us from having a good time. I definitely remember being the lizard man, since that kind of choice is very rare in video games. I think my dad was a human barbarian. How boring. But seriously, this was a fun hack and slash, and we actually beat this one. The final boss kind of comes out of nowhere, but again, we weren't familiar with EverQuest, so I think that's why it didn't leave a strong impression overall. Number 6. The Lord of the Rings. Gosh, what else can you say? My father made me a huge fan of this franchise. I remember when we went to my uncle's wedding and we ordered the Fellowship of the Ring at the hotel, and I fell asleep when they went to Rivendell. Okay, but then my father purchased the Two Towers on DVD, and I spent more time playing Metroid Fusion on my GBA. Alright, but when Return of the King hit theaters, we were there opening weekend, and wow! I had a minor arachnophobia attack, but other than that, what a movie! I think we went home afterwards and saw Fellowship and Two Towers that week with a refreshed perspective and a new appreciation for the story. From that point on, we were both always game to visit Middle-earth, and it was at its best with the Return of the King video game. What a badass co-op experience this was. It was so good that I actually thought the Two Towers video game was built the same, bought it later down the line, and...
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Well, they did not have to go this hard for a licensed game, but I am sure glad they did. This was a fun experience that made me feel like I was in Middle-earth. There was another game actually, an RPG, called The Third Age. I recall playing that game sometime after, and it actually had a co-op feature for battles if you plugged in an extra controller. It was enjoyable, but nothing beats me slashing through orcs as Aragorn, while my father chopped them to bits as Gimli. Number 5. The next title I'm going to discuss is quite different compared to what my father and I would usually play. In fact, both third-person and first-person shooters were genres I just did not get into. And to be honest, they still aren't my thing nowadays. But my friends were huge fans of the Resident Evil franchise. My mother banned that shit from the household until I was older. Flash forward to 2007, and I first experienced Resident Evil 4 on the Nintendo Wii. I could easily see why it's regarded as one of the greatest games of all time. I finished it shortly before the release of the newest entry for PlayStation 3, Resident Evil 5. I managed to convince my father to play it with me on the way to the store, and told him it was an action-adventure game with co-op. Although in the opening my father was quite indifferent to the subject matter, he knew that his dorky son was only intrigued by the variety of monsters ranging from mutant bats to hungry crocodiles and Ouroboros. I've heard the general reception of this game is pretty mixed, leaning more towards the negative, but I think it was my bonding experience with my father that made my experience quite positive. My dad and I made a really fun team, chock full of memories like incinerating the Ouroboros boss near the beginning, mowing down the bikers during the chase sequence, this deadly sunbeam maze that gave me a heart attack, and gunning down numerous other monstrosities throughout. I'm glad I dealt with my father instead of the computer's shoddy AI with this one. Number 4. Remember back when I was talking about the Super Nintendo, I mentioned that my father and I would pass the controller when playing Donkey Kong Country. Well, during the days of the Wii, we tag-teamed in Donkey Kong Country Returns, even though we really shouldn't have. See, Returns is a much easier game when you play solo, kind of like Cuphead, because each time you die in a minecart or rocket barrel, you lose 2 lives. Plus, Diddy's rocket pack is much better utilized in a single-player setup. Still, we managed to come through the entire game together, with my father taking the role of DK and myself controlling Diddy Kong. Then, when the time came to experience Tropical Freeze, we did more solo runs and only teamed up now and then. That's why Returns gets the number 4 spot on the list. Tropical Freeze is the better game though. Number 3. Before Donkey Kong Country Returns, we had another Wii title that was a dream come true for my father and I. Hell, sometimes my uncle and sister would join the fray with this one. I am of course talking about New Super Mario Bros. Wii. For the first time, Mario and Luigi could go on a platformer adventure side by side, with 2 Toads. What an experience this was! Playing New Super Mario Bros. Wii brings back a plethora of good memories. There were moments when we were laughing, smiling, yelling, or a combination of the 3 throughout the entire game. There were times when I came up with a way to get a star coin by chucking my father into the abyss. There were times when we would jump on each other's heads to reach a high ledge. There were times when we would sometimes ignore one another's bubble because we found the level easier to do it ourselves. Times when we would just lose a life again and again and again.
And again until we're both dead.
Despite our bouts of insanity, we made it our mission to collect all of the star coins, unlock the secret world, and clear all those star coins as well. Eventually, our experience continued onto games like Super Mario Bros. U and Super Mario 3D World, but it was the original New Super Mario Bros. Wii that left a strong impression. To this day, it's hard to separate my memories from the quality of this admittedly soulless title. Still, it truly was one of the best gaming experiences I had with my father. I don't think I could fairly judge it beyond that. Number 2. Okay, so you know earlier in the video when I mentioned there was a grand co-op experience that my dad and I tried to replicate with other games? This is the one.
Gauntlet. Dark Legacy.
Oh hell yeah! My experience of playing Gauntlet Dark Legacy was so potent that it stands as one of my favorite multiplayer games of all time. Its fast-paced action arcade gameplay, its booming cheesy voiceover, its large variety of characters and locales, its epic bosses, all of it's a quest I won't soon forget. Hogging food to piss off my dad, learning not to abuse potions because you need to get rid of death, taking countless weekends to discover the 12 rune stones, all of this and more is what made Gauntlet Dark Legacy just a blast to play. I know in my heart that I'll never replicate this experience because my father and I tried with Gauntlet 7 Sorrows, and we beat it in a weekend. Plus, there may come a time when the wife and I have a run through this epic quest, and I hope it's a memorable experience in its own right. Number 1. The number 1 game for this list is a no-brainer. Most of these games contain memories of my childhood, adolescence, and early adult life. Out of all of these experiences I've shared with my father, only one game has stood out from the crowd. This is a game that created not just old memories, but new memories in the present day.
Mario Kart 8!
I'm including both Mario Kart 8 and Deluxe for this slot, but let's be honest, they're the same game. From the moment I bought this title on the Wii U back in 2014 to over a decade later when I raced my father on Nintendo Switch, Mario Kart 8 is the one game that I still bond with my father over as a 30-something adult man, and it holds a special place in my heart for it. It's something simple, addictive, and time-consuming. It's a game that takes me way back to 2008 when we first played Mario Kart Wii, and I wasn't as good at it. Yeah, I didn't really click hard with the Mario Kart series until Mario Kart 8, but now it's one of my favorite games of all time, one of my favorite multiplayer games of all time, and of course, the number 1 game I play with my father from time to time. Will new Mario Kart memories form when Mario Kart World comes out for the Switch 2? Who knows? I don't plan on nabbing that game just yet. For now, I still have plenty more races to have in the future with my old man. Hey, thanks for watching. Let me know what games you remember playing with your family, friends, or loved ones. Until next time,